sinners, and saints. Dust off those horns and halos. It's time for Alley After Dark.
Bob Eidman was an insurance salesman who lived in St. Charles, Missouri. He was, by all accounts, a funny guy, a fun-loving guy. He was short of stature, about 5 foot 4 inches tall, maybe a little bit shorter than that. And we'll describe him as heavy-set, but by all accounts from his friends and family, he was a really big personality that everybody seemed to love. On June 8th, 2007, Bob's body was discovered by the mail carrier delivering that day's mail. He had been shot 3 times. He was dead. Typically, when someone is murdered, police, the detectives, will focus initially on family and friends, the people that knew the person, because ironically, in most murder cases, it is someone the victim knew. What I want to talk about with this case is really the way the American news program 2020 reported it. It turns out that Bob had a secret life. And during the initial steps of this investigation, the police subpoena Bob's phone records, and they see a number that has been called nearly on a daily basis. And that leads to a tremendous amount of interest in who this person was that he was talking to virtually every day. Well, when they track the person down, it turns out this man is actually having an affair with Bob. The way 2020 approaches that topic is that it's a salacious detail. A man is cheating on his wife with another man, and the suspicion immediately goes to not only the man that Bob's having the affair with, but also even more toward his wife. Is there jealousy involved? Is there just tension or anger over all of this? Are either of these people, the wife, the man he's having the affair with, are either of them capable of committing murder? When they interrogate the man that Bob was having the affair with, the man is honest and straightforward, and he says that he loved Bob, that they were planning on, at some point, having a life together. Of course, they will investigate an alibi, and this man had an absolutely solid alibi. There was no way that he was in St. Charles the day of Bob's murder. He had dozens of people that said that he was at work. There was even video footage of him around the office where he worked. He had nothing to do with it. What was really interesting about the way that 2020 showed the interview with the man that he was having the affair with, they blotted out his face and they altered his voice. So they still had to protect the man that Bob was having the affair with from society, because society is that way. When the man he was having the affair with is cleared, that points all the fingers back to his wife. Detectives were talking to her, and I guess you could say that she was in sort of denial, but apparently she and Bob had a confrontation about an email that she had read that was from Bob to the man that he was seeing. And she had expressed frustration with the detectives that Bob was sharing these intimate feelings and things with this man and not with her. What kills me is that they were able to find some touch DNA in the back pocket of Bob's pants that took, I think it took a year or two for them to get the results back. But during this time frame, the wife was still considered sort of a suspect. The DNA came back and there was a match in the CODIS system, and it was a man that was currently serving time in prison. And it turned out that he and a friend of his, they knew that Bob usually would accept cash payments for insurance. And he usually had a lot of cash, or at least people thought he had a lot of cash hidden in his office. These two men literally killed him for $300 in cash that was in his office. What I'm getting at here is that the fact that Bob was seeing a man was totally irrelevant to the story. My frustration, I think, from that kind of way of presenting Bob's story is that 2020, this media outlet, didn't seem to think that presenting the story the way they did could damage the gay community even further than it's being right now. I just wanted to roll my eyes at them that the attempt was to make it more salacious than it actually was. Of course, if Bob's wife discovers that he is having an affair, whether it be a guy or a girl, I think your partner would be upset and angry. I just feel like they kind of diminished the relationship in a lot of ways. The reporter that was covering the story, he was talking to Bob's brother, and he asked him, well, how did you feel when you discovered his secret life? What the hell does that got to do with the fact that he was murdered by these guys because they were trying to steal money? And I know, it's a program that has a certain amount of time to fill up, but isn't this what we always have to go through in the gay community? Stories like this that almost would make people feel guilty for trying to figure their own life out. Obviously, that's what Bob was trying to do. By all accounts, he and his wife had a relationship. He was doing his best to be a supportive husband. He was keeping his life with this man that he was seeing separate. In fact, he would drive closer to where the man lived to meet and spend time with, rather than him come closer to where he lived. In a lot of ways, I think that was to spare, well, not only himself, but his wife, in case they were discovered or seen out in public or something, you know. But even that, it still kind of tries to make you feel shame for wanting to be happy to be in a relationship with a man. I don't know. I am really kind of frustrated once again. And I guess when I was watching it, and I just knew that that was going to be the secret life that they were promoting. Like, he has a salacious secret life, when it was just basically a man who was married to a woman who was actually gay and trying to work through the situation. You know, it can be that simple. It doesn't have to be such a convoluted mind fuck, if you will, in people's lives. Not every story is a murder plot. Not every story is a soap opera, even though a lot of times I guess it does feel that way. I guess I'm just rambling here, but I don't know if all of you feel it too, the frustration that I'm feeling with everything that's going on, with all the hate targeted at our community. I guess it makes the wounds that you thought were healed a little bit more raw. I honestly don't think the reporter or 2020 really meant any harm there with the story that they told about Bob Eidman's murder. I just wish they could have approached it in a different way. But then again, you know, it's a program that needs viewers, it needs ratings to stay on the air, and they will do pretty much anything they can to keep those ratings. And I'll have to be honest, the story was accurate. They didn't tell anything that was false that I could tell. But I guess, you know, one of the things that always bothers me, and it goes back to the Jerry Falwell days and Anita Bryant. By the way, if you don't know who she is, look her up. She was some sort of beauty queen who was totally anti-gay in Florida orange juice, and she got the fruit pie in her face. It was awesome back then. Well, she died recently anyway, but I remember Jerry Falwell standing with her, and he described gay people as like vicious monsters that would kill everybody rather than even looking at you. It was that way of demonizing. And sometimes stories like this, even though it was handled okay, but could have been better, it still can do damage to the community. Because I can hear the haters out there saying, oh, see, look, gay lifestyle leads to death. That's what all these religious haters say about being gay. That's how they explained HIV and AIDS, that it was a curse from God. But no, it was just a virus. It's just a virus. It still exists. It's not in the past. It's just treatable now. Sorry, sinners and saints, to be such a downer, but everybody I know in our community is on edge. I'm on edge. There's so much tension and stress. It's unlike anything I've felt since the 90s, you know, and even in the 90s, I think I've mentioned this before. I actually felt more free then than I do now. It's just so strange how everything has spiraled downward into this cesspool of hatred and bigotry and just malicious behavior. People seem to be more confrontational now. Hell's bells, even last night at happy hour, I thought a fight was going to break out. And I just wonder if it's not just because of all the pressures that we're all feeling from government and bigots and assholes who are demonizing us. And I just want to make something really clear here. And I think I've said it several times before, but it bears repeating. Federal and state governments are really going after transgender people, but you all do understand that it won't stop with them. They always go for the easiest to malign groups first. Then they start taking out the other ones that people would not expect. So, fair warning to all of you listening, you may not be transgender, but I guarantee you, you're on one of their lists and you don't want to be in that situation. God, I need some dick. I really do. You know, there was a guy that came in to happy hour last night. Never seen him before. Looked like a stoner a little bit. He was very slim in the face, a very sharp kind of trim face, and a little bit longer hair that was kind of frazzled, I guess. And I guess me being a veteran of our community, you pick up things just by looking at someone and observing them for just a little while. Right away, he came in. There was just three or four of us sitting there at the earliest part of the night. And he immediately wanted to make conversation. And I could tell that perhaps he was high on something, but he wanted to talk about, for a lack of a better description, butch things. He was talking about cars and about old girlfriends and seemed surprised that people at the bar could talk about cars and relationships. And then as other people came in and my friends were sitting around me and we were discussing him just because of the way he was behaving, I was feeling red flags. I thought there's something really not right about this guy, but nobody else really was. One of my friends came in and said, no, he's just a lost soul. He's just trying to figure it all out. And he thinks he has to say a lot of things to try to impress all of us or whatever. Well, he needed to go to the bathroom and he asked, where do we go? And we all kind of pointed in the direction. Well, he got up and he immediately staggered and walked toward the kitchen and not toward the bathroom. And one of my friends grabbed him and directed him to the bathroom. And I guess the more I saw him, the more I began to really feel for him. The bartender cut him off, gave him water when he came back to sit, and we all still engaged in conversation. And my friends who said that he was like a lost soul finding his way, I began to believe that. I began to agree with that he is someone who isn't fully out as a gay person, hasn't fully accepted it, I don't think. And that's the hard part. You don't have to be out to the world. You, first of all, need to accept yourself for who you are. And honestly, fuck the world. I think that if you want to come out to the people that are closest to you, great. If you want to come out totally, great. But it's your personal decision and yours alone. But someone who is struggling, like he appears to be, just imagine what he's going through if he watches the news and seeing these right-wing Republicans bashing transgender people, bashing women, bashing drag queens, bashing gay people, stripping LGBTQIA information from government websites, threatening to target us as lawbreakers. It's hard enough to be a gay person with all this shit going down on us. He is truly struggling. And those that come into the bar, we do talk to them. We try to engage them in conversation. We try to reassure them that there are people that care. This is the real world too, and you always have to be cautious. You have so many things to try to juggle as a gay person. You want to be helpful to people. You don't know if someone could be a predator, a robber, a basher. You just never know. And you have to really develop your instincts and hope that you have good gut instincts too that can take care of you in these situations. We should only have one worry, and that's how much dick we want to suck on any given night or day or week or whatever. But no, it's people that get in the way, people that just want to demonize anybody not like them. I am getting ready for happy hour, and I'm so looking forward to it, even though I am very certain that we will start off with a lot of tension like we have been the past few weeks. But I'm hoping that there's going to be some really nice, fresh dick to choose from and indulge. There's nothing like a backseat adventure in a parking lot or even a men's room adventure. If you haven't had one, you don't know what you're missing. Hello. I've had some of the best times of my life in a men's room stall. I told you all, didn't I, that one of the reasons why that's one of my fetishes is that there was a scene in the first gay porn movie that I saw that involved a glory hole in a men's room. I did tell you all that, right? Well, if I haven't, you just now heard it, okay? So, surprise, or goddamn, Alan, can you talk about something else? But why, when dick is so much fun?
Oh my God.
Honestly. I was mistaken for a longshoreman today. Did I say Sherman or Shorman? Anyway, must have been the toboggan and the jacked up beard. I look a little rough. Hey. Give me a break now. I had to end this episode with something at least a little bit funny. Sorry, I know that wasn't funny. Anyway, I hope you had a good time hanging out with me for this episode of Alan After Dark. Remember, take life by the balls and be real. We'll see you soon. This may come as a surprise, but sometimes I talk at the very end of an episode, and I'm just wondering if all of you are really listening to all of my show. Are you? Could it be that I'm simply trying to stretch out the amount of time that this show runs? Could be. Ow.